When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. To serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett, and with me to review the fantastic 3-0 win at Old Trafford. We don't have Bart's this week. He's packing up his shipping container for his new life in a tropical island paradise. But I do have the rest of the team. First of all, I've got the boy wonder, sports writer at the Times, Mr. Hamzah Khaliluna. Evening, Hamzah.
Evening. Excellent. I thought it was a good game. I thought Liverpool played well. I don't think they played out the skin. But I think that we'll get onto it.
We don't even have to play out of our skin to win 3-0 at Old Trafford. That's the thing, Hamzah. There's plenty of opportunity for banter on this podcast.
I think that says a lot about Manchester United, but yeah.
We'll definitely do some of that. And he's the reason you all listen to this show. He's had more clubs than Tiger Woods. It's Mr. Simon Brundish, even Si.
Hey, boys.
Yeah.
Good weekend.
Very good weekend. True story, Si, actually. I spoke to somebody had an altercation with somebody in the Discord server who didn't know your history of how much you'd been involved with professional football clubs. And I was like, wow, do you even listen to the podcast?
So somebody was slandering me and you were defending.
I came to your honour, Si. Yeah.
Appreciate you, Dan.
Yeah. Right. But yes, I think you've basically been involved with most of the clubs in the English football pyramid at some point or other. Anyway,
that was a bit old.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Anyway, we are here. This is enough nonsense. We are here to talk about Man United 0, Liverpool 3. And as we always do, side nice and quick though. Hopefully, those lineups first and foremost.
So no changes. This is our first team, it seems. We talked about it, how first teamy it felt last week. So on paper, there was no changes. Structurally, there was two that tactically played out. But as on the team list, the same lads just repeat as we predicted, and you would expect it this early in the season with one game a week.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The opposition, I don't know if you want me to mention it, but Garnacho came in for his first game of the season instead of
Dallo?
Ahmad
Diaz.
Yeah. Who'd actually played all right. Yeah. And that's why I'm always surprised when he's called Ahmad, because I thought his name was Dallo. Diallo, because they do have a Dallo, don't they? He played really well at left back, by the way.
Yeah.
And
he's had some good games against. He's had some good games against Mo Salah in the past. Not this time.
No, I don't think he was bad. I think structurally they did weird stuff which helped.
Yeah.
But Mazraoui came in for his debut as well.
Yeah.
Xerxes started first game up front.
Yeah. We'll come on to the game plans. Before we go into the stats, Si, I'll come to you for our game plan, and then Hamzah, I'm going to come to you for what you think United's game plan was, okay? So, Si, basically for us, did you see any substantial differences?
Yeah, the first very obvious deliberate one was that Zobo usually plays right half space. Yeah. He plays right half space and then drifts into the 10, and they switched him so he was left half space drifting into the 10, and they just moved Mac inside, maybe 5 meters probably moved. So there were slightly different directives from each of the midfield positions. Our press was designed to push them out so that they had to recycle back their fullbacks into a dangerous spot to one person. They're dropping Casemiro for one of our eights to push out and pick him off. And I think that was a very smart strategy. And to be fair, Slot talked about it after the game, which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Absolutely fascinating. Hamzah. So, Erik ten Hag, as he'd like to remind us, he's the second most successful manager behind Guardiola since he joined, because he's won 2 trophies. What was his game plan for this match?
So I think most people will have heard what Arne Slot said, which summed up the pressing structure quite well. But just to recap, essentially, last season, what they would try and do, they'd use a number 9 to sort of, in a defensive way, they'd try to use the number 9, usually Højlund, to stop passes into midfield. They've tried to be a bit more aggressive this season, following like the sort of trend of other teams. They go 4-4-2/4-2-4, and they try and be aggressive in their press and try and win the ball back higher up. In possession, it's really strange. So Ten Hag really likes this 3-1-6 structure, and sometimes it's a bit more risky than that. At its simplest, it will just be 2 centre backs and a DM, a pivot, and then players ahead of that. And often you will have those 3 players, well, maybe the pivot's on the ball and everyone else is ahead of the ball. That's because, well, Ten Hag likes to play a very transitional game. He's said before he wants his team to be the best transition team in the world, so he likes them to be direct. And when you've got players like Garnacho, Rashford, Bruno, I guess that makes sense. But it also means that if you're going to play a very transitional game, the ball's going to come back at you a lot of the time. However, like I said, he plays with that 3-1-6 or 2-1 base shape, which means that the rest defence, the players that are there to guard against the counter-attack, aren't actually there that much at all. And sometimes you'll see, so the way the midfield works as well, let's say Mainu was dropped deep as a number 6, Casemiro will then run ahead of him and sometimes hide behind the opposite midfielder, so he's not accessible, and vice versa. So it might be Casemiro that's on the ball and Mainu's running forward. In the first phase of build-up, often, but not always, the fullback will tuck in to offer a little bit of support, so then you have a 2-2 box. However, the weird thing is, once the ball progresses further upfield, that fullback will then move back forward, and then you're left with that 2-1 shape, which is very vulnerable to counterattacks. So yeah, that is a theme of Manchester United's time with Ten Hag. He just leaves them in this very precarious position at the back. And while if you're at Ajax and you're playing super slow, intricate football, that might make sense if you've got Frankie de Jong as your 6 and he's keeping the ball and he's been quite careful with where he's moving it and he's progressing it with dribbles. But if you've got a 6 that's a bit risky with the passing and isn't hyper athletic, you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble. And that was part of the story of this match, and Liverpool noticed that and they sort of really went for it. There's a few things going on there that come from Manchester United style. I really don't think this is a way to approach a match against someone like Liverpool or City or Arsenal. If you're Manchester United, I think this is a bad setup.
Yeah. Brilliant. So going to do the match summary now, which is going to come from the stats pack. And as always, the link to the stats pack from Dr. Bart's is in the show description on your podcast feed, and we'll also post it on Discord as it's already been posted on Discord and via the Twitter account, and the Under Pressure Twitter account. But I'm going to give the full match stats, but I'm also going to give that first half breakdown because effectively the game was over. So for the full match, it was 52-48 possession for Man United. We had 11 shots to 8 on targets was 3 each, so we scored with each of our shots on target. It was 6 big chances to 3, and the XG finished 1.7 to us, 1.4 to Man United. The XG on target was 2.3 to us and 0.6 to Man United. The XT, the expected threat, was 0.8 for us and 0.7 for Man United. But in that first half split, it was 50-50 possession. Man United actually had more time on the ball than we did in terms of Bart clocks, the actual time in possession as well. So that was 22 minutes to 19 for Man United. But we had 4 shots to 2, 4 penalty box shots to 2, 2 big chances to 0, 2 goals to 0, 0.7 XG to 0.08, and 1.5 XG on target to 0.03. So, yes, very, very significant difference in the first half versus the full match. And we will be having a bit of a chat about what we like to call garbage time at some point on this agenda. But let's do the fun stuff first, Si. Isn't it nice to be able to win a match inside 42 minutes?
It really is. And we really, early on in the game, they basically controlled the first 12, 14 minutes-ish.
Yeah.
They were in total control at that point. In a not causing us stress kind of way. We were never chasing our tail, but they were making us work hard to protect our goal. In the first 23 minutes, they didn't have a shot in the box. We had one in theirs opposite the goal. At the second, we'd had 2, in fact, one deemed offside. And we cut them open after 14 minutes. For the first 14 minutes, it was sterile from us. We weren't doing anything other than trying to keep them out and nullify the crowd, and then we can build from there. We've kind of seen a little bit of this season with, I wouldn't say slow starts, but pragmatic starts. We're just making sure our feet are set, if that makes sense, and then we can shove. Instead of trying to shove while our feet are slipping all over the place. And
nice.
In this case, there was a couple of moments where Trent, again, I think Trent stood up for the 3rd game in a row here early in that 15-minute period where we were seeing last season, he'd already off into the midfield. He wanted to play 10 at that point, and he was leaving gaps. And now he's making, again, for the 2nd game in a row, he's made 2 really important blocks, defensive contributions in the first 10 minutes. End up being a corner, deal with a corner. All that good stuff, and then we make some magnificent football, which ended up with a bit of bad luck of Mo being caught out in an offside position and Trent scoring. But in that moment, I don't know what you guys thought. There were periods in the last 3 years, even though in the last 3 years we could talk about like the almost achievements of going for the quad twice and amazing footballers and real legends that we've got in this team, which we absolutely have. But there have been fragile moments for sure.
Yeah.
And there have been periods in the last 2 years for sure where we would have a goal disallowed in this way that we would sulk for 5 or 10 minutes. And very often somebody would switch off and we would quickly get caught in behind because we would either sulk or we would go, right, we've got to finish this game. We're going to go now, and then get caught out, like within 2 minutes. How many times have you heard me talk about the dynamic systems theory and that's a consequence.
Yep.
I was going, after that goal, right, settle. Nothing, give nothing away for 90 seconds, nothing. And we were absolutely sterile. Within 2 minutes, Bob the other end score a goal. So I thought I appreciate that we got the game won by scoring two goals, but we also I think we won both the tactical component of the game in that period, in that we bullied what they wanted to do, so they couldn't do any of the things they tried really, really hard at, and we just dusted them off basically, and we controlled the mental side by those big moments that we could fry our brains a little bit, and we absolutely did. And they start to lose their brains a little bit with the niggly tackles, the moment where Casemiro, I think he should have been sent off. People laugh because if you get kicked in the balls, it's funny, but it should have been a red card. Studs in the balls is a red card.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
I think, Hamzah, for me, it's an early theme of the season is that, what I said, we had a bit of a setback, but we are very controlling at 0-0, and we're barely giving the opposition a sniff at 0-0. So whether we are finding our feet, whether we're probing, whether we're controlling, we're not having huge amounts of chances and shots ourselves, but we aren't at the same time. We're pretty solid, and we're not giving much up.
Yeah, of the three games that we've had, I'd agree with that assessment. But the key thing there, it's only 3 games, and it's 3 games against, if we're completely frank, opposition that Liverpool should expect to beat. Ipswich, a newly promoted team. Brentford are a tough team. It's Brentford at home. And Manchester United, again, if we're just honest, they're really poor at the moment.
Yeah. How is it? It's Man United away. How many teams? Well, I expect to expand, obviously. But just as one tangent in here, how many teams in the league shouldn't we be expected to beat?
Yeah. Also, Klopp only had 2 out of 11 at Old Trafford. 2 out of 11. One of them was 5-0, granted.
Well, you'd start off with Arsenal away and City away as 2 teams you're not expected to beat. When they come to Anfield as well, you'd probably say you'd hope you beat them, but a point is probably within the realm of possibility and sort of acceptable. Then, given the quality of the team, and they finished third last season, and there's quite a big gap between the top three and the rest of the league, you'd expect Liverpool to expect to beat most other teams away. But there are Chelsea might be tough.
So what I would say,
sign me up to 105 points.
Yeah, absolutely. But on this pod at Hamzah, we're talking about how we actually beat them, and I think one thing we've got is that I put it to you again that I think we've had good levels of control. And even when it's been goalless, we haven't looked like going behind, and the opposition haven't even created that many moments. Yeah, in the 3 games.
That's true. United had in that start they got into the box a bit, but like Simon said,
had a corner or two, I think, as well. Yeah,
I think there was a couple. There was a Rashford dribbling into the box, and then I think an approach from the right, maybe from Garnacho. But fairly well handled. Some of it just comes down to the profile of the players. When we were a little bit stretched, Konate was there to cover, and he's quick and he's strong, and he covers space quite well. And Van Dijk on the other side was able to do that as well. So I agree with your assessment, but as in, there's only so much you can do with 270 minutes worth of information against okay opposition at best. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, that's what this podcast is going to be about, Hamzah. Whether we like it or not. So, Sahi, one of the things I quite liked about this match, in a very arrogant Dutch kind of way, he told the press immediately afterwards how he beat his opponent. And he made it look like this guy was a complete schmuck. And look, it was so easy. All I had to do was this, this, and this, and we won. Everything was exactly as I foretold. But leaving that to one side, it is quite impressive how he's watched two games of video against Man United and come up with a plan of us against the ball that works so well in a half.
I agree. But I don't like Hamzah. I don't want to go overboard with the previous 2 games this year. It's the 3rd time we played United at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
This is the most controlled we've been. But I actually think the biggest factor by far is the finishing.
Absolutely.
Our chance conversion and our big chance conversion was the best it's been in 3 games, and that was ultimately the difference. If we'd have taken one finish from this game and put it in the United game, in the United League game when Diaz, we would have probably won the league. Just these very small differences, and I think finishing was the biggest difference. But we also can't get around our physical performance in this game, as well as so we had created these moments of control of of the way they played out. Right, I wonder if the first 15 minutes of games is where we're seeing how the opposition are going to attack us, because that leaves us with, now we have a story of how we're going to beat them. Now we see where our weaknesses, where their weaknesses lie for us to attack them. I wonder, I think there's a part of that.
It's that if it is, it shows you, even after 3 games, how quickly Slot can analyse and then make decisions and adapt. So in the long-winded thing, as I tend to do, there are a couple of things at play here, right? That when Klopp came in, comparing the two, one's tactical genius, one's this big, effervescent, motivational genius. Maybe, I don't know, there is a huge advantage to Slot than when Klopp came in, and that Klopp's older now, so he's probably not going to be as technically, and he's just not going to be down with the kids from a gadgetry point of view, from a technology point of view. In real time, there is AI analysis going on an iPad right next to Slot. So he can see the shapes and the swarming of the players on the pitch at all times. He can see discrepancies in physical output. So he can see if somebody's starting to react a little bit slower, somebody's slowing down a little bit more gradually.
that's when he can take them off. So he has all of this extra input, this information that he's not that Klopp didn't have or was available to him, but maybe didn't take full advantage of. I think there's that possibility. What my point is that we are putting massive outputs of total distancing, but we are putting really elite levels of sprinting and change of direction, high intensity change of direction. We're currently top of the league for those numbers, and I believe the smart utilization of tactics at the same time as the real buy-in for this physiological output of players is created 3 turnover moments in this game, which caused 3 errors, 2 of which we scored from, and that was the difference between the 3 games that we've played against them.
Yeah, for sure. He specifically referenced in this post-match that the game plan for this match needed midfield runners to execute. So, Hamzah, coming to you on that one, you already made reference to it about the game plan that he had. Do you want to elaborate more into what he said and how he executed it?
Say that again, Dolph?
So you've already mentioned that the Slot talked about the game plan that we needed and they executed in this match. Do you want to go into that the detail now and how it unfolded in our first half?
Because Manchester United played in this particular way where they leave themselves quite vulnerable with just one player as the pivot, Liverpool realised that what they could do is squeeze these sort of situations and take advantage of them. And what I mean by that is they would leave Salah and Diaz in high and wide positions. They'd have them positioned there ready for the turnover. Because as soon as they won the turnover in midfield, ahead of where the pivot is, so 2 centre-backs, let's say the pivot passes forward. This is what I'm talking about now. Liverpool want to win the ball in this situation as the pivot passes forward and then turn it over and then break onto United, because they'll only have that pivot player who's just played the pass and the 2 defenders behind them. And the thing that Slot said was that when you win that situation, you've now got one-on-ones because Salah and Diaz are high and inside and they're running towards goal. And then you've got whoever's just won the ball and everyone else that's also running with them to surge forward. I remember as well, when we think about the shape, this Manchester United shape, if it's a 2-1 or a 3-1-6, whatever, all the players ahead of the ball are going to have to stop, turn and run. Whereas Liverpool, because they're pressing, they're immediately just running forward. So you should be able to take advantage in that situation and just stream forward. And there's plenty of occasions. There's one where Kobbie Mainoo took a knock on his head and the play was stopped afterwards, but Gravenberch was all over him. So it wasn't just about squeezing that pass that goes forward. Sometimes it was about trying to get into the pivot themselves.
There was one where McAllister absolutely twatted Mainoo as well, and he just completely beasted him. Yeah. That was the idea. I'm just checking exactly what Slot said, but there's a few tweaks to what they put their fullbacks high as well, which means that is there again. So I think basically he'd given the first pass into the midfield, and then Casemiro would drop in between the 2 centre-backs to form a back 3. And at that point, we would really squeeze one. But it wasn't the old Klopp-style pressing into their opposition penalty box all the way to the keeper. It was kind of like, let them get halfway inside their own half to the edge of the centre circle and then squeeze.
But again,
as soon as we had that transition from those central areas, which congested, we funnel it out to Diaz or Salah as quickly as possible.
I think it's important to stress again that some of the decision-making from Manchester United, and whether that's specifically a player deciding in the moment to do it or manager telling them to do it, was really, really poor. So there are moments where United would just bounce the ball back to Casemiro, and first time he just hit it forward loosely. There's the goal. There's another occasion where he's literally on the edge of the defensive third, ball comes to him and he just flicks it forward straight to Konate. And he's got maybe 2-3 short passes on. That sort of stuff is so strange. It's so bizarre. They're giving us the ball exactly where we want it, and they're leaving themselves completely open. So not only did we have a plan for them, but they also gave us an extra sort of plan as well that we could use against
by being really bad.
There's two elements going on there. I think a fairly well structured plan to exploit the spaces that they leave because they're quite bad, as in the spaces that they leave are quite bad. And then secondarily, there's this as well, them just giving the ball to us. There's two elements there that really meant the pressing was a lot easier than it should have been, to be honest.
Yeah, and just on the physical stuff, particularly Jota and Szoboszlai in that central area, closing down all passing lanes. They covered a lot of ground in this match, right?
Yeah, the numbers flying around. Zobo that covered 11-7 prorates after his 76 minutes. That Jota did 11-4, Diaz did 11, and they're the highest numbers of the season. They're not the highest of the season, but 2, 11-4 for a forward is quite a lot, but
not for a midfielder.
But for reference, Darwin did that 3 times last year.
Yeah.
These aren't massive numbers that throw around. The people can use them because there is a number that's live on the internet. They go, oh, look at this. How much did they run? One is we're well aware these days. We talk about quite a lot. It's this doesn't mean anything. In 100 minutes, because that's how much live play there was in this game. There was 100 minutes. So in the 6 minutes where Kobe Manu, who was prostrate on the floor holding his head, if during that 6 minutes that Virgil walked up to the pitch, see how he is, walked over to slot, walked back to the goal, had a chat with Ali, and then walked back to his position, you've got like 350 meters there alone.
Yeah,
without doing anything. So
but at the same time, there was more qualitative numbers out there, such as StatsBomb's pressing information, which was really high for Jota. I think you have 36. I mean, we don't have pressing anymore on this show, unfortunately, but the numbers for Jota was 36 in 70 minutes, something like that. It's a crazy amount of work he got through in that central area.
But it's easy, as we talked to you talked about all the time, that the pressing in the middle, like Bobby used to get high numbers, but as long as you're smart, as long as we're funneling, which is what we do.
And you've got that platform behind you. You don't have gaps behind you. Yeah.
Exactly. You're always going to get these numbers. And what Hamzah and what Slot was talking about of leaving the 2 wide players high, it wasn't like we were leaving them high while the other team, while Man United were attacking. That's not what we're doing. It was only for one pass. It was one pass longer than we would have done or you'd expect you typically, but they weren't staying high. What they were doing was they were blocking the lane into the fullback, so they couldn't pass out wide. They had to make the pass into the midfield, where we had this charging, marauding bunch of...
Grav was a bit higher than previous games. Zobo was there. Jota was there. And Trent was coming in a lot as well. And the Trent link up with Mo was there again, which was really nice to see. 3rd game in a row, it's been strong. Yeah. But also the whole Trent, playing the right back role, playing the right 6 role, playing the right 10 role, playing between the centre back. It's basically working so well at the moment, and he looks extremely fit. He looks extremely motivated, and that the system is just executing really well.
Everybody is doing their job, so that we have specific shapes that are required in every phase of play, and they're being fulfilled. It doesn't matter whether Grav and Mac are the double pivot to play out from the back, and Trent has gone out wide, and Zobo's come in, and Mo's stayed high and wide, or Trent has gone high and wide, and Mo's dropped in, and Zobo's gone out. It doesn't matter. There's
rotations, isn't there? Position, yeah. And
in this game, I thought, Trent. I wouldn't even mention the word Trent because it was absolutely fine. Nobody had a bad game. Everybody played well.
Yeah.
Trent didn't have any exceptional numbers at all.
No, I was just talking about, the link up with Salah was good, though, which was nice to see. Yeah.
Well, my point is that Grav was the key in that. So we looked really competent. We had a really competent team. At no point, we saw lots of times last season. I would, when you joined in pre-pod, this is what myself and Hamzah were chatting about, that there were moments in phases of play last year where we looked incompetent, and we've not seen any of those anymore. We're seeing competence underpinning phases of brilliance.
Yeah.
And everybody's showing a level of competence at the tasks they're being required to do. And I thought Grav was very, very competent in his role, which allowed Trent to do more stuff, but everybody together provided a platform where Grav could receive the ball on the turn while being pressed, taking 2 men out of the game, because he's brilliant at that. And he's got cover because Trent hasn't been a dickhead and run past him. He's still got cover just in case, and he can take this little risk. But if he beats his 2 presses, he's away, caused at least 20 meters worth of progressive gain, and he's caused threat.
Yeah, his acceleration off from a standing start is pretty tasty, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is, but his control is what causes it. There were a couple of moments in this game that I tweeted about Mo Salah's first touch being the most underrated attribute in football. 2 moments were just godlike takes, and it's not. And I was talking to my kids about it. There was
another one from VBD, wasn't there? On the switch there.
Again. Was what?
Yeah.
There are moments. Trent had one on the outside of his foot as well. That when you're practicing football, when you learn in football as a kid, right, learning to control the ball is most of the time is coached in a way of, let me caress the ball until it's at my feet. So it's under it. So you're trying to stop the ball until it's under your control. That's kind of what it sounds like, controlling the ball. But what Mo does, what Messi does, and I'm going to compare the two because they're both just geniuses at this thing, is they control the ball. They redirect the ball into the perfect place for them to make the next movement.
Yeah.
If you watch other players in our team, Diogo Jota, he's trying desperately just to get hold of the ball. And it's so very different, and it makes you appreciate the geniuses in our team. And there are a couple of those moments in this game with that thing, and Grav is very close to having this amazing first touch.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.